Life. You know, I never really did get life. Yeah, that's me. I guess this isn't really the right place to start in the story, though. Oh, I'm never good at this. Well, like they always say, start at the beginning. Ever since I can remember, I have been depressed. Life just never worked for me. It was why I decided to take my own life. The only problem is, I fainted even the slightest hint of blood. And since I don't have the guts to pull something like that off on my own, I decided the only way to take care of my life was to hire a hitman. Yes, that's right, a hitman to take me out. I decided to not let the killer know that they were being hired to actually help me commit suicide. It needed to seem like an everyday hit. I submitted my description, daily schedule, favorite places to eat, all the usual. Really now all that was left was to wait. A few days passed and I was beginning to grow restless. Yeah, I was living, but not in my usual depression. I mean, I knew it was going to be over soon enough, and that alone made things more bearable. Of course, life always has this way of never working the way you planned. I went down to Martin's Cafe just like I always did. It was one of the few rituals I pushed myself through each day. I sat down at my usual table and went to order. That's when I saw her. It must have been her first day on the job because I had never seen her before. Her name tag said Kira. And, showing surprising grace, life let her be my waitress. Thanks, Lady Luck. We got to talking and, much to my surprise, we clicked like I've never clicked with anyone before. There was just something about her. Conveniently, the end of her shift came during my extended stay, so I offered to walk her home. The walk was just as good as the time at the diner. At the end, we exchanged phone numbers and parted ways. I was on cloud 9. I had met an amazing woman. Finally, a reason to live my life. And then it hit me. I hired a hitman to kill me. I can't die now. I finally had some sliver of joy in the world. I had to get home, but I didn't want to get picked off along the way. So I had to get home very carefully. Very, very carefully. I rushed home and tried to figure out my options. I couldn't contact the hitman again to call it off. They said they would contact me when the job was done. My only real option was to hire a bodyguard to protect me from the hitman I had hired. I had to get one. But I didn't want the bodyguard to be next to me all the time because I didn't want Kira to know about my current situation. A big hulking man often cramps any romance chances. I didn't want to know who the bodyguard was, just that he would be there. And so began my life of constant worry. Kira and I began to date steadily. She continued to bring joy to my life with every minute spent with her. The only problem was, on our dates, I was always nervous that something would go wrong. Every little thing made me jump. Thankfully, she always just thought it was my personality, but I always knew that I was hiding something from her. Finally, one day, it just became too much for me. I had to tell her. She was working at the time, so I knew where to find her. I ran down to the cafe once again. Upon arriving, I was nervous, but for once, not because of the hitman. Would she still love me? The cafe was rather empty that day, so she took her break a little early. I began from the beginning to explain exactly what had happened. So I died that day. Not really in the way you may believe, though. Remember how I can't stand the sight of blood? Well, it's now saved my life in multiple ways. I still died that day. The old me died. I finally realized that there is something to live for in life. Ironically, the woman that showed me this is also the one I paid to kill me. She did do her job, she killed me, just not in the way that either of us thought it would happen. And that's the funny thing about life. It doesn't always give us what we wanted. Sometimes it gives us what we needed instead.